Not on our watch. I'm Jessica Denson, and this is Lights On. I am so grateful to be with you today to share with you these extraordinary live protests that are going on across the country today. 50 states, 50 protests. This was an organic, spur of the moment, just called for a few days ago, call to action. Got some feedback loop there. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful showing today of people showing up in Texas, California, Indiana, Vermont, Massachusetts, Washington, D.C., Texas, Missouri, Ohio. I could go on and on and on. And I have been so blessed to be joined live. We're going to be joined live by one of our 14th Now organizers from one of the protests on this show right now. And I've been joined all day by a number of our friends and organizers from 14th Now and others. So I'm going to show you what they've been sharing with me, the footage they've been sharing with me all day long. I also have an interview coming up that I'm going to share on this live episode with Richard Painter. He's the former Bush White House ethics lawyer who has been citing the criminal codes that Elon Musk is very likely in violation of. We have an extensive conversation about the civil and criminal remedies that exist right now to handle this lawlessness, this hostile takeover. Sorry, everybody there. I just changed my audio source in case it wasn't crystal clear. I fixed it while we're live this time. So we're going to have all that today in this live episode of Lights On. I want to start you off with a clip from Cliff Cash. Now, he was one of the 14th Now organizers that joined us in Washington, D.C. on January 3rd to 5th. I just want to tell you, if you're watching this for the first time, the 14th Now movement really spearheaded the protest against this illegal presidency. Donald Trump, of course, is an illegal president, constitutionally disqualified. He has no legal right to inhabit the office he is currently inhabiting. And a group of us came together in an extremely short period of time, raised a beautiful amount of money from supporters around the country to put on a 3-day event to lobby Congress to keep Donald Trump from assuming the presidency in the first place. He should have been objected to on January 6th. It was a continuing coup to allow him to occupy this presidency. And every effect, frankly, that you're seeing, the horrific effects that you're seeing play out right now, were so predictable, because we know that this man is an insurrectionist who has no allegiance to our Constitution, and he shouldn't be there in the first place. So we spearheaded that movement. I'm so proud of everybody that was involved and supported 14th Now from, frankly, around the world, and to see this outpouring of civil engagement that is now going on across the country is extremely, extremely beautiful. We are not going to stand for this. Donald Trump needs to be impeached and removed yesterday. And the people that have been out there on the streets, showing up with their signs, with their here's one that I liked a lot. This is Oben Munn in Lexington, Kentucky. She's got 2 signs that speak from my heart: arrest Elon Musk and impeach Trump. Perfect messages. And that's exactly the messages that I frankly think is the only acceptable messages to be coming out of the Democratic Party right now. Start thinking outside your friggin' boxes here and take the action that's necessary. Call for an impeachment of this man, call for the arrest of Elon Musk, and don't ask for another dime, frankly, from your constituents until you start taking some bold and daring action against this lawlessness. So I want to start everybody off today with Cliff Cash. He joined me earlier from Raleigh, North Carolina. An amazing showing there. Here is Cliff Cash.
And now I'm here in Raleigh, North Carolina at this 50 protests, 50 state capitals, all in one day. This is happening all across the country. I'm going to do a quick spin so you can kind of see this is not just a singular crowd. This goes all the way around a city block, and it's more dense in some places than others. It's also going around 2 other blocks. There are people parked and just hanging out in parks. with their signs. There's people on both sides of the road. I don't know how many people it is, but it's definitely thousands, plural. People are pissed off. They're pissed off about fascism. They're pissed off about bigotry and racism. And what they're really pissed off about is, I think, is the same thing that I am, is bigotry pretending to be Christianity and racism pretending to be patriotism, because they're not the same thing. And the right needs to stop pretending that they are. It's time for the right to wake up and stop bullshitting. And what the right really needs to realize more than anything is all these things that they're doing, all these things that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing, they're not just bad for me. I'm a straight, white, middle class Southern man. It's not bad for me. It's bad for women. It's bad for minorities, people of color, LGBTQIA community. But this is what you need to know, MAGA. It's bad for you. It's bad for Republicans to lose your Social Security. It's bad for Republicans, for a South African, a ketamine addicted South African weird ass billionaire to be accessing the checking account of the country you pretend you love. You think that's good for you? Would you like it if George Soros had access to that same account? Would that be okay? Or is it only okay when your side does it? Because let me tell you something. One of the richest people who's ever lived, he's not here to help you because he loves you and he loves America. Is that what you think? Do you think a billionaire with 6 bankruptcies is taking control of your benefits because he wants to help you? Are you that naive? Surely you're not that mentally ill. These people need to wake up. This isn't about left or right. This is about, do you love this country or do you not? They are toppling American democracy. They are destroying the Constitution with things from birthright citizenship to removing the power of the purse from Congress and handing the keys to a person who's not even a citizen of our country. Elon Musk is a South African. He's not elected. He's not congressionally approved. He has no rights to your money or your information. This is un-American through and through. And let me tell you another thing. This is not a fucking hello. It's not a mental hug. It's a Nazi salute. It always has been, and it always will be. And it didn't happen in a vacuum. Elon Musk didn't throw one Nazi salute. He is actively supporting Nazis in other countries around the world. And that's very easy information to find out if you actually give enough of a shit about your country to do any kind of research. But if you don't, stop pretending you're smart. Stop pretending you understand these issues when you don't. And you guys want to keep threatening us with civil war. Nobody's scared of you. Nobody's scared of people who can't figure out there, and there, okay? That's not scary.
No KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump. No KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump. No KKK, no fascist USA.
This is my sign. It says, MAGA are predators of women and democracy. The letters are terrible because I made it on the fly, but you get it. Another thing we're doing that I think people should do at every protest is provide the office directions of these quote unquote leaders. Both of these people in my state are Republicans, and they're absolute jokes. Both of them are absolute jokes. But we need to let people know to go see these people in person. Going to their office is 1,000 times more effective than calling them or emailing.
I so appreciate Cliff for so many of the things he said and how extraordinary he and so many of the people that we have met through this movement are. I echo his calls to contact your representatives by phone, by email, in person if you can. Go to their offices. Let your presence be known. I was just telling one of our allies for 14th Now how Congress knew we were there in the lead up to January 6th. They knew we were there. They can never deny that we were there telling them to uphold their constitutional oath. So call your reps, email them, show up at their offices, and do not let them off the hook for 1 second. Don't give them another dime until they start advocating for the impeachment and removal of this disqualified illegal president. The next clip I want to show you, as promised, is from Carlos Alvarez Araños. If you were watching 2 nights ago when we put on a show announcing these protests, he joined me. He's the founder of American Opposition. I put the link in the description down below. It's a new organization he just put up to try to counter, just really counter the messaging of MAGA and pick up for all of the communications gaps that the Democrats leave. But he was really, really behind this movement today, showed up in Denver, where there was really, really an incredible showing of people. Here's a couple of the protesters today in Denver, but probably over 1,000. I would say possibly even thousands of people showed up in Denver alone. And Carlos joined me right after he was finished speaking up on the dais at the state capitol there.
All right, we're here live in Denver, and this is quite the turnout in Denver, Colorado. Quite the turnout in Denver, Colorado. So proud of this country for standing up for itself. I can't hear anything, Jessica, but I hope you can see this. This is quite a moment for this country. The beginning. The beginning.
We can hear you, Carlos. So just tell us
Okay.
anything you want. We can hear you.
No,
great.
we have state senators here. I just spoke, and I thanked everybody for showing up today, and I thank for everybody across the United States for accepting our invitation to show up today and to make this magic happen and let Donald Trump know that we will not accept what he is doing, period. This country is better than fascism. Fascism is violence, democracy is peace, and we choose peace, and we choose love. And look, everybody's here with the same message.
Come on.
They want us to be afraid. They want us to be afraid. They want us to turn on one another. They want us to be afraid of each other. But we know that the antidote to fear is organizing. But the antidote for isolation is community. Y'all, young people are taking to the streets in a way that we have not seen in a generation. Follow their lead. We protect ourselves. We protect each other.
Jessica, I'm going to have to sign off because I have to relocate. But thank you for having me. And thank you to your listeners for paying attention and for answering our call today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you. It's been like mission control here today. We're just gathering all of these live feeds from everybody around the country. Such an amazing thing to witness. One of the other beautiful organizers of our 14th Now movement is a woman named Shelly, and she was in Indianapolis today. You know, so many people. That was Denver, Colorado. The weather was beautiful. Weather's beautiful in LA, but many places across this country it was not beautiful. It was rainy. It was cold. It was freezing in Washington D.C., where many people showed up at the U.S. Capitol. So Shelly was in Indiana, cold, and it looked like rainy there too, but still hundreds of people marching around the state capitol in Indianapolis. She also told us that just this past weekend, thousands and thousands were filling the streets. She wasn't there, but she showed up today as soon as she found out about this protest and documented it for us. So here's some clips from Shelly.
5th March.
United we stand, divided we fall. And one thing I love reminding everybody of on this show is just how few people actually support Donald Trump, how he received less than a third. You guys tell me it's probably closer to a quarter of eligible registered voters in this country, even according to the numbers that we have. If you believe those numbers, if you have questions and doubts, because there are legitimate doubts, visit electiontruthalliance.org. They're doing the courageous work that so many have been unwilling to do to look into this election. But even if you believe the numbers, it's nowhere near a mandate. It's nowhere near a landslide election that Donald Trump so-called won back in November. So this today was a real visible indication of just the actual mood of the country, the actual disapproval of this man and everything that he stands for, and everything that this foreign national who has hijacked our country and is invading our agencies, attacking Treasury, trying now to dismantle the Department of Education, thereafter the Department of Labor, the Consumer Protection Bureau. You know why Elon Musk would want consumer protections to be taken away so that he can crash more rockets and more driverless cars and electric cars can explode, because he doesn't want regulation. There's so much self-interest here, and he has no right with his hands in the federal government with that self-interest. In fact, there are criminal violations that apply here because of a billionaire businessman like Elon Musk taking control of the levers of our federal government. I wanted to speak about that criminal exposure and every legal avenue that we have to combat what is going on with this so-called DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, non-existent, illegitimate agency that he's set up. So I reached out to Richard Painter, an old friend of Lights On. He was on the show probably over a year ago. I said, can you please come back and tell us about what we can do legally to combat this? So earlier today, I was joined by Richard, and I'm going to share that interview with you now. It's so good to be joined again by Richard Painter, former White House ethics lawyer and professor of law at the University of Minnesota. Richard, welcome back to Lights On.
Well, thank you for having me on the show.
So, understandably, the country is outraged at the access that Elon Musk and his so-called Department of Government Efficiency, non-existent agency, has to our private information, our social security numbers. This is like a hostile takeover of our government agencies. I'm really curious to know from you, from your experience in White House ethics, what you see. First of all, can we just start with the concept of DOGE and whether this entity has any legal authority to have any access to our information?
Well, Jessica, we don't even know what DOGE is at this point. It was announced as a department. If it's a department, then the head of the department needs to be confirmed by the United States Senate pursuant to the United States Constitution. And Elon Musk has not been confirmed by the Senate for anything. If it's simply an office of the White House rather than a department, then President Trump can appoint Elon Musk just like he can appoint the chief of staff and other senior White House officials to run DOGE inside the executive office of the president. But then all the employees of DOGE, including Elon Musk, are subject to the criminal conflict of interest statute, 18 United States Code 208, which prohibits any government official, any federal official in the executive branch from participating in a United States government matter in which they themselves have a personal financial conflict of interest. And that includes a conflict of interest through a corporation or other entity they own stock or other equity interest in. So Elon Musk is subject to the criminal conflict of interest statute. Everyone who works for DOGE as a United States government employee is also subject to the same statute. And this is a very, very important conflict of interest rule, and that's why it's a violation. It's a crime to participate in a government matter that has a direct and predictable effect on your own financial interest. We'll see what's going on here, but that much we know. We don't know the exact status of DOGE within the executive branch of the president. because they've been playing a cat and mouse game with us now ever since November. They wanted to pretend it was outside the government for a while, so that somehow Elon Musk wouldn't have to comply with the financial conflict of interest statute. But now he's been running around doing so much and bossing people around that it's pretty clear he's acting as a federal employee. So they figured they might as well say he's one.
Yeah, they're calling him now, after the outrage of this past weekend, a special government employee, as you said. But clearly, there would be a conflict of interest from the world's richest man, who has countless companies, SpaceX, Tesla. I could go on and on. Tell me, Richard, who would be in charge of enforcing this federal code? Would it be the Federal Department of Justice? Because right now it's run by Trump's hatchet for hire, Pam Bondi, as of last night. Is there anyone other than the Federal Department of Justice who could enforce this? Could state AGs, in the interest of the constituents of these states and their rights that have been violated, who could enforce this federal criminal statute?
Unfortunately, federal criminal statutes can only be enforced by the United States Department of Justice and by the United States attorneys. Now, this statute does have a 5-year statute of limitations. So it depends on what happens over the next couple of years and whatever is done at DOJ. But if anyone at DOJ participates in the United States government matter that has a direct, predictable effect on their own financial interests, so they know that they're participating in a matter that affects their financial interests or a company they own stock in, they commit a crime, and then anytime over the next 5 years, a federal prosecutor could come into court and charge them in an indictment with that federal crime. So that's the way the federal criminal conflict of interest statute is enforced. Now, rarely are there criminal cases under 18 United States Code 208. Usually, these matters are addressed through an inspector general investigation in the department or an investigation by Congress. And one of the problems we've got here is there is no inspector general in the White House. I urged in a book I published in 2009 with Oxford University Press, right after coming out of the Bush White House, that we need an inspector general in the White House. That idea didn't really attract a lot of my friends who were still working in the White House, but I still thought that was a good idea. And this is exactly why, because if there are violations of a conflict of interest statute like that, or any other waste, fraud, or abuse, we have inspectors general in the agencies who you report that to and they investigate. Now, I know that Donald Trump fired a bunch of them, but in the White House, they don't even have one to begin with. So that's one of the problems. Now, Congress also should investigate if there is credible evidence of a serious financial conflict of interest high up in the administration. The problem we got now is that members of Congress will not investigate a president of their own political party. And so we have both houses controlled by the Republicans. Donald Trump is the head of the party, and that means he can raise a boatload of cash and for a primary challenge to anybody over in Congress who dares challenge him. So that's a bit of a problem, particularly in the House of Representatives, where they have to run for election every 2 years. But the founders intended that Congress keep the presidency in check. And that includes financial conflicts of interest anywhere in the executive branch.
Richard, I don't know if you're aware, but I led a protest in the beginning of January to urge Congress to block the certification of Donald Trump's presidency under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And the failure to adhere to our Constitution by all lawmakers, frankly, on both sides of the aisle right now is appalling to me. But I feel like, yes, absolutely, the pressure and the should be on Republicans. They control these houses. It is not excusable for them to allow this unchecked invasion of Americans' personal and financial information, possibly affecting Medicare, Social Security, so many things that affect their lives. But Democrats too bear responsibility. They have bully pulpits. They can hold up nominations. They can make extreme amounts of noise. They could call for the impeachment of Donald Trump. They could call for the arrest of Elon Musk under this criminal statute, couldn't they? What kind of noise could the Democrats, who still purport to be on the democracy side, in spite of what I think is an abysmal abdication of their constitutional duty on January 6th, what can they be doing to ramp up the pressure here?
Well, the difficulties the Democrats have in the House and Senate are twofold. One, they are in the minority, and the minority under the House and Senate rules has very limited power to initiate investigations. Now, that doesn't mean they can't call witnesses at hearings. They are entitled to call witnesses. And I've been called as a witness by Democrats as well as Republicans in hearings, including when they are in the minority. Just recently in the United States House of Representatives last year with respect to issues in the Interior Department. And so the Democrats can call witnesses. They need to call witnesses who are aggressive and knowledgeable and willing to go to the mat over these issues. And I've had my share of intimidation from some of those senators, like John Kennedy of Louisiana, who was harassing me in a Senate hearing.
What a joke he is.
Oh
What a
yeah,
joke.
fossil fuel money in Congress, and Senator Whitehouse had them all nailed. All that money going into Congress, and Senator Kennedy just wants to ask me questions about things I posted on Twitter about the ethics of the Supreme Court, which are abysmal. And some Marxist blogger, crazy guy on the south side of Chicago, was race baiting, who I shut down. And Senator Kennedy actually went so far as to defend a Marxist in order to try to trash me, and I thought that was pretty humorous. But there's a circus up there on the Hill, and the Democrats need to take these issues seriously and use whatever power they got in the minority. I did feel there were some instances there in the Biden administration is much better than Trump, that's for sure, on ethics, but I got to say they weren't as good as Obama. And, there are a few times when the Biden folks need to be reined in, and I wish the Democrats had set a standard of, I don't care whether our person is in the White House or not. These are what the rules are. And some of them did. I thought Senator Whitehouse was very, very impressive at the Senate Budget Committee. I just wish he were the chairman right now, but he's not. And we're going to see what happens. But it's going to be a long 4 years. And I got to say, the voters are going to get pretty upset if this absolute craziness continues, because it's going to have a ripple effect on the economy. And the minute Donald Trump started talking about sending troops to Gaza, I thought, okay, well, he could really be digging his grave there.
It's unbelievable. He is promoting ethnic cleansing of Gaza and building real estate developments that I'm sure his family would have massive investments in. But you talk about the outrage of the American people. Yesterday, thousands showed up in front of the Treasury Department to protest Elon Musk's government influence. There today are people in almost every state capital, 50 states, 50 protests, protesting this hostile takeover of our government, this fascist takeover by Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Richard, I really think that I will be shocked if we get to 4 years without some major eruption. And we're trying, I know me on my show, and the civil disobedience that I am encouraging is to try to keep us from something much worse, try to use the laws that we actually have, the Constitution, the ethics rules, the criminal code, anything to possibly keep us from a very severe eventuality. I think that Donald Trump should be impeached and removed, and that the Democrats should be calling for that right now. It's time to take the gloves off, throw out the rule book, and do what's needed. But we've talked about some criminal remedies. We've talked about congressional oversight. I know you've seen this lawsuit that was filed by AFL-CIO. I'll just read from the first paragraph. It says, Plaintiffs Alliance for Retired Americans, American Federation of Government Employees, AFL-CIO, and Service Employees International Union, AFL-CIO, file this action against defendant Scott Bessent in his official capacity as Secretary of the Treasury, the Department of the Treasury, and the Bureau of the Fiscal Service Agencies of the U.S. for declaratory and injunctive relief to halt defendants' unlawful, ongoing, systematic, and continuous disclosure of personal and financial information contained in defendants' records to Elon Musk and other members of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, or to any other person. Richard, what are your thoughts on civil actions? I know that the privacy law isn't your specialty, but what are your thoughts on civil actions that anybody affected could bring to thwart this behavior?
Well, to have standing in federal court, you want to show that you are affected by illegal conduct of the United States government. And if they are leaking your confidential information, your private information, handing it over to private entities out of the Treasury Department, then that's a serious issue. And there are laws that prohibit that. There are also laws that prohibit even the White House from obtaining people's personal tax returns without authorization. And these laws that are designed to protect the privacy of the American people need to be complied with. And so I think it's going to be absolutely critical to hold the federal government accountable. And that means going into court and filing a lawsuit, and the judge can find out what records were released and whether records were illegally released. And also, I think the administration needs to go into court and clarify exactly what Doge is, who's a United States government employee, an employee of the executive office of the president, and who is not. Because turning over records to people who are not at all United States government employees would be a very, very serious matter. And indeed, as I said before, there's some records that the White House itself should not be getting. So courts need to enforce the law, and plaintiffs who do have standing should bring suits. Now, those who don't have standing shouldn't. Now, I will say that any member of the public has the right to sue under the Freedom of Information Act for information. People can sue there. And then also, Elon Musk right now is a so-called special government employee, which means he's subject to that criminal conflict of interest statute, but he can file a private, confidential financial disclosure form, which means we don't get to see. Now, the real question is he really a special government employee, which is really a designation for part-time government employees who have a very limited role for the United States government? Or has he assumed a position that really is that of a full-time officer of the executive branch appointed by the president, who should be confirmed by the Senate, and also needs to have a publicly available financial disclosure form? The special government employees are only allowed to work through 130 days in any one 12-month calendar, period. So he goes over 130 days. I think somebody go in there in court and say, look at what he's doing and look at the time he's spending here. And it counts toward that 130 days any day you do anything. And I don't think there's a day, including a weekend, in which Elon Musk is going to keep his hands off the federal government.
They've literally moved people in. He's got beds, sofa beds in Treasury. He's sleeping in the White House. I mean, this guy is 24/7 infected into our.
He's all over it. So 131 days from now, I mean, some we go into court and say he's not a special government employee. That's a bunch of hooey. One, he's working more, and second, he's carrying on functions that really are for a primary official of the United States government, an operating official of the United States government, head of a department that need to be confirmed by the Senate. But at minimum, I, the plaintiff, have standing to insist on seeing his financial disclosure form. It should no longer be confidential. It should be disclosed. Remember, the top 100 people in the White House, commissioned officers, have to file publicly available financial. I did when I was in the White House. Mine was publicly available. It didn't have anything on it that was very interesting, like Elon Musk. But then again, I'm not a billionaire. But the point is that is publicly available for any commissioned officer in the White House. And yet, Elon Musk's financial disclosure form will be hidden away, squirreled away somewhere in the White House if he bothers to fill it out, because he's a special government employee. I think there's going to be some courtroom challenges to that, maybe 4 months or so, or 5 months down the road.
When you say we can file FOIA lawsuits, what should people be asking for in these FOIA lawsuits?
Well, I think the best plaintiffs are often journalists, or people running podcasts such as yourself, and you should ask for the records of the interface, the interactions between the government agencies and the Department of Government Efficiency. It's difficult to get records from inside the White House, because then they'll say, oh, that's all executive privilege. We ought to be able to advise the president and not disclose it. We're going to say it's executive privilege and we won't turn it over. So it's difficult to FOIA the White House in a lot of circumstances. But you FOIA Treasury and you say, we want your communications with Doge, and we want records about what's going on with Doge, the relationship with Doge and the Treasury Department. Quite a bit of that you could get through FOIA, through the Freedom of Information Act. And I think those types of suits ought to people ought to start thinking about what they can request under the Freedom of Information Act. And if they're told no, think about where they actually have cause to file an action and ask a judge to order the administration to turn it over.
Let's bring this conversation full circle. We started with a criminal code about financial conflicts of interest. You talked about access if we find out through, it sounds like, discovery or FOIA requests, through some manner in the courts, that non-government employees have accessed our personal information, which I think is very, very likely at this point. Is there not a criminal statute for that?
There are some criminal statutes for that, depending on who the personal information is disclosed to and whether that person was authorized. As I said before, tax returns, not even the president can demand a tax return. He can't call over and say, well, I want George Soros's tax return, and so I can take a look at it. The president's not allowed to do it. There are criminal statutes that constrain that. It all depends on the information that is disclosed and whether they're criminal or civil remedies. But we have to identify the information that's disclosed and see if somebody has standing to go into court and file a civil lawsuit or complain to the authorities. The problem with criminal statutes, once again, is they're only enforced by the United States Department of Justice. And right now, DOJ probably is busy prosecuting a lot of Democrats or whatever they're doing. So they may not get around to it for 4 years.
Richard,
So
do you see any circumstance under which state AGs, Democratic state AGs, could bring an action related to Elon Musk's behavior with Doge right now?
I believe civil suits can be brought by the state attorney general. Yes, civil suits, and already we've had quite a few civil suits against the Trump administration by state attorneys general.
Yeah.
For injunctive relief, for illegal conduct of the United States government that violates the rights of the states or the citizens. And a lot of states, the flow of money, revenue sharing to the states is going to be affected by this. So they absolutely have standing there. Criminal suits, that's a little different issue. It's a lot harder for the states to say we violate a criminal statute, a state criminal statute, because whatever you claim to do in your official duties. But then again, if people get a hold of private information, it starts circulating around the private sector. That's a different ball game, and that could violate some state criminal statutes as well. And the state AGs could go to work on that.
I hope they're all going to work. I hope everybody is using every lever of our criminal and civil statute at this moment. Thank you so much, Richard Painter, for joining me today on Lights On and bringing your expertise. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on your show.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Okay, I'm laughing at myself in the background here, right? Although it is not funny. I'm a one-woman operation, you guys, and sometimes I forget to click one button or click one button at the wrong time. And so thank you for your patience as I deal with those issues. No, it wasn't somebody trying to attack our show. But by the way, make sure you're subscribed to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel. I do think we deal with some kind of algorithm suppression more often than we should. So please help me combat that by subscribing to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel, turning on your notifications, making sure that you always see when this show is live. That interview with Richard, I really just wanted to get the perspective on what legal avenues we have to take. I absolutely hope that lawsuits are filed immediately, in addition to the ones that already have been filed, to put an end to this as soon as possible. That's what this show is about. It's about taking action. It's about putting ourselves on the line, saying, not on our watch. Democracy will not die on our watch. And I'm so grateful for all of you that have been part of this movement with me. I am here because of you. I am not here because I want to be a podcaster. I'm here because I'm a citizen and an American who loves this country, who's not willing to stay silent and do nothing while our country literally dies before our eyes. So it's such an honor to be here with you. It's an honor to put on this show by myself for you, but I know I'm so not alone. And I really want to say that to each one of you, how alone you are not, how much you are supported by this movement of light, this movement of truth, of democracy. Please do not feel alone. That's what all of these beautiful protests today were, such an amazing showing of just how much we are not alone. So I hope you take that spirit. Let's show up. Let's continue to show up. Today, I think, 14th now was the beginning. Today was the continuation, and we've got to keep showing up day after day, demanding that our Democratic leaders do something. Not just talk, not just give good speeches that they can then put out in emails to try to beg you for money, but that they actually do something. We're going to continue to have accountability on Lights On. So I want to highlight a few things. One is This is from Paul Richmond, who was actually one of the lawyers that helped us out with 14th Now. And he posted all of the Democrats who voted to approve Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. I mean, some unlikely names here that you would have hoped were not involved with it in this. Cory Booker, Chris Coons, John Fetterman, no surprise there. But Ruben Gallego, Kirsten Gillibrand, Margaret Hassan, Maria Cantwell, Lisa Blunt Rochester, John Hickenlooper, Timothy Kane, Mark Kelly, Angus King, Gary Peters, Jean Shaheen, Alyssa Slotkin. What the hell were these Democrats doing voting for Scott Bessent, the man who gave Elon Musk the keys to the Treasury Department? What the hell are these Democrats doing voting for any nominee that Donald Trump puts before them? You do not negotiate with terrorists. And that is what we are dealing with. We're dealing with a domestic terrorist, felon, disqualified individual illegally inhabiting the White House. There should be zero stamp of approval on what this man does. After this hijacking of Treasury this weekend, here's another thing that just kind of boggles the mind. Democrats voting to confirm another Trump appointee, Doug Collins, as VA secretary. Some, again, surprising and disappointing names on this list: Klobuchar, Warnock, Ossoff, Rosen. You can see the list in front of you for all of them. This happens after the hijacking of the Treasury. They approve Doug Collins, who, I will remind you, Doug Collins, he's a veteran himself, but he was a member of Congress during Trump's first term. I will never forget the gaslighting that came from Doug Collins. I had this screenshot saved on my computer for years of something Doug Collins said about free speech and gaslighting the American public on how Trump's apparently free speech rights were being violated during the Mueller probe. And I personally was living the assaults on free speech that Donald Trump enacted through those illegal NDAs, how he tried to silence and destroy me and my livelihood. And you had somebody like Doug Collins out there in committee hearings acting like Donald Trump was some poor man whose free speech rights were being violated when he was the biggest enemy of free speech then and now. So Doug Collins is no, docile figure that should have been approved by a single Democrat. Hold all of these people accountable. Be grateful for the sudden realization that we have a constitution and a democracy to save and that it's a freaking emergency, but don't let them off the hook for what they did on January 6th. Don't take for 1 second. I've just gotten emails recently from you guys telling me that when you've asked them to look into legitimate concerns about this election, the fact that we had bomb threats, the fact that so many people's vote did not show up, that they have responded that election hygiene is a threat to democracy. Don't let them gaslight you this way. If we treat election hygiene as a threat to democracy, that's the biggest threat to democracy that we actually have. They defended certifying Trump's election on January 6th as a peaceful transfer of power. And now look at what's happening. It was a continuation of the coup to certify that election. Rejecting it would have been a defense of the peaceful transfer of power. And since we didn't, now we're in the find out period. So it's time for those Democratic leaders to make up in overdrive. Like I said, don't give them a dime until you see real results for our democracy. And I would put at the top of the list, I think I heard a peep from Raskin about him being willing to start articles of impeachment if he got a couple of Republicans to sign on. This should be the call from every member of Congress. This man should be impeached and removed now. If you want to sign a petition to have Donald Trump impeached, you can do it at freespeechforpeople.org. You know that John Bonifaz, the president of Free Speech for People, and Susan Greenhalgh, their election security expert, are friends of this show. I think I'll be having John Bonifaz on next week again, as well as 14th Amendment scholar Evan Bernick, who we had on back before January to really educate people properly about why Donald Trump is disqualified. So I'm so grateful to have these esteemed guests like John, like Evan, like Susan, like Richard, who joined me today. And more than anything, the American people, you who are out there showing up, putting yourselves out there and saying, not on our watch. We've got this. Stay in the fight, stay in the power, stay in the light. You have this. They cannot take it away from you. I love you guys so much. I finally got my Lights On cup in the mail. Stand out, Lights On with Jessica Denson. Put it up there in the light for you. You can order this merch by going to thejessicadenson.com. There is a shop there on my link tree, or you can just follow the link in the description below to get my Lights On merch. I also have hats and shirts, and I would love you to support and show off this show and really just spread the word as much as you can, because the only reason I do this show is to have action points for you to save this democracy. Only reason I'm here. So thank you so much for being in this fight with me. Please subscribe to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel. I'll see you next time. As always, let your light shine.